Welcome to this edition of News Today, a series where we briefly discuss and analyze important news of the day. Without delay, let's explore the headlines first. US House has passed strengthening the Quad Act. Economic nationalism is quintessentially fundamental to our economic growth, says Vice President. Law on matrimonial issues relating to non-resident Indians and overseas citizens of India report has been submitted. Ministry of Corporate Affairs operationalizes Central Processing Center to facilitate ease of doing business. Global Pulses Conference urges India to augment production of pulses to meet nutritional requirements. Niti Aayog released a report titled Senior Care Reforms in India, Reimagining the Senior Care Paradigm, a position paper. Starting with the first news. US House has passed strengthening the Quad Act. Let's start by first having a look at the key provisions of the bill. The bill directs the US State Department to enact a strategy for increasing engagement and cooperation with the Quad. Also, it seeks to establish a Quad intra-parliamentary working group to facilitate cooperation between members. Now let's discuss and understand about Quadrilateral Security Dialogue or Quad. Quad is an informal forum of like-minded countries comprising the USA, India, Australia and Japan. Its origin can be traced back to Quad collaboration in 2004 tsunami rescue operations in the Indian Ocean region. The first Quad Leaders Summit took place in 2021. It commits member countries to work as a force for global good and to support an open, free and inclusive Indo-Pacific that is prosperous and resilient. Let us now discuss and understand the importance of Quad for India. Through the Quad, India can counterbalance China's growing presence in the Indo-Pacific region, including its Belt and Road Initiative. With the Quad, India can rise above its middle power status and project its influence beyond the Indo-Pacific. Its informality provides inbuilt flexibility and allows members to pursue their foreign policy interests while enjoying the benefits of cooperation. At last, now let's have a look at the key initiatives taken by Quad. 6 leader-level working groups are established for climate-critical and emerging technologies, cyber, health security partnership, infrastructure and space. It launched a vision statement in 2023 which is centered around the theme Enduring Partners for the Indo-Pacific. Also, there is a Quad Debt Management Resource Portal to address challenges of unsustainable debt financing. Moreover, there is Quad Investors Network as a private sector-led platform to facilitate investments in strategic technologies. And lastly, Quad Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation Package 2022 to enhance climate and clean energy cooperation.
Moving on to the next news. Economic nationalism is quintessentially fundamental to our economic growth, said the Vice President. Let us first start by getting to know about economic nationalism. Economic nationalism is conventionally seen as an ideology which favors domestic control of the economy, labor, and capital formation. Unlike globalization, which promotes interdependence among nations, economic nationalists favor tariffs to restrict free trade, promote indigenous industries, and seek import substitution. More recently, it has been viewed as a concept which has more to do with nationalist content rather than a fixed set of such economic policies. Now, let us further discuss how economic nationalism benefits the country. Economic nationalism helps to protect domestic market, particularly in the nascent stage of nation building. For example, after the independence, India adopted import substitution for self-reliant economy. And additionally, India still reserves certain items for public procurement from MSEs. It further prevents drain of foreign exchange caused by the imports. Lastly, it facilitates local employment by promoting domestic businesses including MSMEs. Further, let us also discuss the various concerns associated with economic nationalism. The protectionist policies stifle innovation by lowering competition from foreign businesses. For example, the prolonged protectionism led to the economic crisis in India in the 1990s that prompted 1991 economic reforms. It may further lead to trade wars, imperialism, and conflicts as was seen during the 20th century. Additionally, economic isolation can lead to political and cultural isolation. Lastly, let us understand how the economic nationalism has propagated in India. In the pre-independence India, economic nationalism was manifested in the economic critique of colonial rule and the Swadeshi movement. Recent initiatives like Vocal for Local, Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat can be clubbed under the broader idea of economic nationalism. However, they further lack an insular approach and are not against the ethos of globalization.
Moving on to the next news. Law on matrimonial issues relating to non-resident Indians and overseas citizens of India report has been submitted. The report was submitted by the Law Commission of India. Let us first understand who is an NRI, OCI and PIO. Non-resident Indians are Indian citizens living abroad. Overseas citizens of India and persons of Indian origins are foreign citizens whose Indian origin is legally recognized and by which certain privileges are extended to them. PIO and OCI card scheme were merged in 2015. Therefore, the Government of India has decided to discontinue the issuance of any new PIO card. Now let us have a look at the key issues highlighted in the report. Firstly, it highlighted the lack of regulation as currently there exists no law governing marriages with NRIs. Also, there is no central legislation prescribing compulsory registration of marriages. Second is the rising trend of fraudulent matrimony. Such marriages between NRIs and Indians leave Indian spouses, particularly women, vulnerable to domestic violence, abandonment, and ex-parte divorce. Ex-parte divorce is initiated in a foreign court without the knowledge or consent of the Indian spouse. Lastly, there is a difficulty in legal assistance as the inter-country nature of marriages makes it difficult for Indian spouses to seek legal recourse. Further, if we talk about the key recommendations of the report, then these include enacting a comprehensive law to broaden the NRI Bill 2019, extending its coverage to encompass divorce, maintenance and child support, and ensuring its applicability to overseas citizens of India and persons of Indian origin in addition to NRIs. It is proposed that marriages involving NRIs, OCIs and PIOs should be compulsorily registered in India, containing essential information such as social security numbers, passport details, and ID cards to facilitate proper identification and tracking. Failure to register such marriages should incur fines or imprisonment, and the proposed law is suggested to have an overriding effect on all other laws.
Moving on to the next news. Ministry of Corporate Affairs operationalizes Central Processing Center to facilitate ease of doing business. The Central Processing Center is established for centralized processing of regulatory compliance forms filed under the Companies Act and Limited Liability Partnership Act. This center will process application in time-bound and faceless manner on lines of Central Registration Center or CRC and centralized processing for accelerated corporate exit or CPACE. Talking about the CRC, it provides services for speedy incorporation of companies, whereas CPACE provides centralized processing of applications for voluntary closure of companies. Talking about ease of doing business or EODB, it refers to simplicity, efficiency, and cost effectiveness of setting up, operating, and closure of businesses in a particular territory. Now let us further look at the focus areas of ease of doing business reforms. Simplification of procedures related to applications, renewals, inspections, and filing records, rationalization by repealing, amending, or subsuming redundant laws, digitization by creating online interfaces, eliminating manual forms and records, and lastly, the decriminalization of minor technical or procedural defaults. Let us now discuss about the significance of the ease of doing business reforms. It helps in economic growth through providing improved resource allocation, enhanced competitiveness to boost innovation. It boosts foreign investment through reduced bureaucratic hurdles and improved transparency to reduce perceived risk for investors. Lastly, it improves social development by promoting inclusivity and providing opportunities for marginalized communities to participate in economic activities. Several initiatives have also been taken for the ease of doing business reforms. The labor law reforms, that is the 29 central labor laws amalgamated and rationalized into 4 labor codes. Foreign investment reforms, that is the establishment of Foreign Investment Facilitation or the FIF portal. Lastly, the Business Reform Action Plan 2022 for states or union territories comprising of 2 parts. Action Plan A, promoting business-centric reforms like the National Window System, and Action Plan B, promoting citizen-centric reforms like the online single window and certificates.
Moving on to the next news. Global Pulses Conference urges India to augment production of pulses to meet nutritional requirements. Global Pulses Conference or GPC is an annual global meet organized by Global Pulse Confederation, which represents all segments of the pulse industry value chain, including growers, researchers, traders, and government bodies. India is represented by India Pulses and Grains Association in Global Pulse Confederation. Pulses are a type of leguminous crops that are harvested solely for dry seeds, for example chickpeas and pigeon peas. Pulses are 20 to 25% protein by weight, which is double the protein content of wheat. Now let's discuss about the pulses production in India. India dominates the global pulse market, accounting for 25% in production, 27% in consumption, and 14% in imports. Chickpea and pigeon pea constitute 60% of all pulses, both by area cultivated and by production. Pulses are grown during both Kharif and Rabi seasons, accounting for over 60% of the total production. These crops are cultivated. Major pulses producing states include Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. Significance of pulses include improved soil health through nitrogen fixation and diet diversification to address malnutrition. Now let's discuss and understand the issues with pulses production in India. Firstly, in terms of production, these are considered residual crops and are grown under rain-fed conditions with limited nutrient management. Secondly, the market experiences price volatility due to cobweb phenomenon compounded by inadequate warehousing facilities. Lastly, policy initiatives have limited focus on research and development on pulses, and the sector has not been the beneficiaries of green revolution. At last, if we talk about some initiatives taken for promotion of pulses, then these include National Food Security Mission Pulses launched in 2016-17, Pradhan Mantri Annadata Aay Sanrakshan Abhiyan to ensure remunerative prices to farmers for pulses, Rain-Fed Area Development Program, an integrated scheme of oilseeds, pulses, oil palm and maize.
Moving on to the last news for the day. Niti Aayog released a report titled Senior Care Reforms in India, Reimagining the Senior Care Paradigm, a position paper. This report highlighted the landscape of senior care services available as well as gaps and challenges in current senior care ecosystem to recognize evolving medical and non-medical needs of seniors. Moving on, let us discuss the status of the elderly in India. Currently, the elderly comprise of over 10% of population, which is projected to reach about 19.5% by the year 2050. Longitudinal Aging Study of India 2021 report stated that 75% of elderly in India have one or more chronic diseases. Additionally, 70% of the elderly population is dependent for everyday maintenance and 78% is living without any pension cover. Now let us have a look at the key challenges and recommendations for them highlighted in the report. For challenges in the health sector like lack of comprehensive and integrated package of services, paucity of trained manpower and lack of evidence-backed geriatric diseases knowledge repository, it has been recommended to focus on preventive interventions like adult immunization, further ensure palliative and long-term healthcare services, and lastly promote research and development in geriatric care. For social issues like fragmented and narrow social support system, changing family structure and loss of social support and neglect of contributions of care workers, the comprehensive social security system, promotion of community-based support and strengthening of assisted living facilities has been recommended. Coming on to the economy sector. For issues like insufficient financial literacy, deficient support in lifetime financial planning and financial abuse and fraud, it has been recommended to create occupational opportunities to utilize experience and expertise and design special health insurance products. Lastly, for the issues related to the digital sector like insufficient access to digital goods and paucity of digital training modules for elderly, it has been recommended to enhance ease and safety of digital operation and develop further enabling digital infrastructures. The personality in news for today is U. Tirot Singh. Recently, the Khasi freedom fighter U. Tirot Singh's statue was unveiled in Dhaka. U. Tirot Singh, also known as U. Tirot Singh CM, was a Khasi chief in the early 19th century. He drew his lineage from the CM Lia clan. Now let's have a look at his key contributions. He declared war and fought against the British for attempts to take over control of the Khasi Hills. In the Anglo-Khasi War from 1829 to 33, he used guerrilla tactics to evade and strike the military superior colonial forces. He was in turn eventually captured by the British in January 1833 and deported to Dhaka. He exhibited the values of patriotism, courage, determination and leadership.
As we conclude today's main news, let's take a look at some quick updates. Lakshadweep administration continues to number trees on Pandaram lands. Lakadiv, Minicoy and Amini Islands Land Revenue and Tenancy Regulation 1965 defines Pandaram lands as a land in which government has a proprietary right immediately before the commencement of this regulation and includes any land in which government may acquire such rights under this regulation or under any other law. The 6th Regional Dialogue of Officials of Security Councils and National Security Advisors on Afghanistan was held in Bishkek. The key participants include India, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. The Regional Dialogue of Security Officials has emerged as an important mechanism for assessing the situation in Afghanistan after the takeover of Kabul by the Taliban in 2021. ISRO confirmed successful deorbiting and atmospheric re-entry of Cartosat-2 at its end of life. Cartosat-2 was launched in 2007. It is an advanced remote sensing satellite capable of providing scene-specific spot imagery. India and Bangladesh submit a joint proposal to list Indian skimmers, also known as Indian scissors, bill under the Convention on Migratory Species. Indian skimmer is found in the coastal estuaries of western and eastern India. It occurs primarily on larger, sandy, lowland rivers, around lakes and adjacent marshes, estuaries and coasts. It breeds colonially on large, exposed sandbars and islands. Researchers have discovered a new species of marine amphipod in Odisha's Chilika Lake, which is Asia's biggest brackish water lagoon. The species has 13 pairs of legs and uses the first pair for capturing prey. The Chief Minister of Assam announced that land within Char areas would be surveyed under Mission Basundhara 4.0. Mission Basundhara is a land management initiative of Assam government. Char or Chapori is the local name for riverine areas of the river Brahmaputra. Char areas are subjected to erosion on their upstream and deposition on the downstream, due to which they migrate downstream. Nohar irrigation project supplying water in Hanumangarh district of Rajasthan is expected to get a boost with repairing of Firozpur feeder in neighbouring Punjab. This project utilizes Rajasthan's share in Ravi and Beas waters and is based on 1981 agreement between Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan on reallocation of surplus Ravi Beas waters. Sora is a new generative AI model developed by OpenAI, which can convert text prompts into video. It can generate videos up to a minute long while maintaining visual quality and adherence to the user's prompt. It is significant owing to the added complexity of analyzing moving objects in 3D space. Before we go, it's time to put your knowledge to test in today's segment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have enjoyed this edition of News Today. To get the answers to today's quiz and to download the PDF of News Today, make sure to check out the links in the description below.